to make you feel good. And the the point is that the faith meditation is connected to health. When we do guided breathing, when we do breath prayer that we always talk about, it has an impact on the gut, particularly the microbiome, the good bacteria. If you don't do guided breathing, or you have anxiety or preoccupation of things, then the um, the microbiome will not have any diversity. This will be a state of dysbiosis, or meaning there's no balance of the good and bad bacteria. So then what happens? There is this phenomenon of leaky gut and dysbiosis. The leaky gut essentially is a state where you're allowing the foreign body that would go into the intestine, in a sense that it will be seen by the lymphocytes that makes the antibody inside the immune kingdom to produce antibody that will destroy your system. And that's the precedence of um, the autoimmune disease. The most prevalent cause of hypothyroidism, or low functioning thyroid, is Hashimoto's. And Hashimoto's is one of the autoimmune disease, which is related to the leaky gut and dysbiosis. But we emphasize here the need for us to take care of the microbiome. That's why we're making yogurt here, yogurt ice cream, yogurt smoothie, to fortify our defenses, because that is a key in terms of prevention. And we know for the fact that the microbiome that we're consuming needs the fiber. And the fiber that we always want is based on non-glycemic source, meaning the vegetables, 2 cups of vegetables twice a day. We cannot get away with that. In essence, 45 grams of fiber is a must for us to consume. And related to the diet, or the Mediterranean diet, which is basically the bulk of the diet is fiber, vegetables, and good source of protein, which is the seafood, we maintain good health. If you would imagine how Christ probably had lived and what he would have eaten in the old times. He would have probably gathered some figs and fruits and vegetables around the area. Um, if you have not been to the Holy Land, I would encourage you to do so. It's a different kind of food, very tasty, and imagine the the life of Jesus. His daily living was very conducive to a parasympathetic tone. At the end of the day, regardless on, especially during his public life, after 30 years old, maybe before that, he would always contemplate, go to the mountain and contemplate and meditate. He would always go after he's been chased by people, after a good days of work, then he would always go back there and say, and talk to his father. That's exactly what he is trying to teach us, because living life without meditation and living life without gratitude and forgiveness at the end of the day would actually impair our autonomic nervous system, switching and maintaining the sympathetic tone and making it more, having this feed of anxiety, depression, and rumination. Nature was given to us as this. There's a diurnal rhythm, or circadian rhythm, in our health. That cortisol between 12 midnight to 4 p.m., 4 a.m., is when the cardiovascular events happen. It's just a given. The reason for that is because there's cortisol going up that time. And it's supposed to go down, and we'll have a little bit of cortisol level when you wake up in the morning to get you going. So that if your cortisol is exhausted from whatever reason, that it's hard for you to get up. So you need a boost. You need probably a coffee or something. Well, that's not the way to live life. You have to have that nice drop and then maintain through the day so that your cortisol level is still low so that you can rest at night. However, through the day, there's always this switch, these spikes of cortisol. Somebody called you up. A telemarketer just annoyed you. A relative called you because he needs help, or past relationship is coming back again and haunts you. And there's a lot of stress. Stress doesn't mean that you have to have depression or anxiety. Stress could be even just daily thinking. That's what you call a monkey mind that just keeps on jumping up and down, ruminating things. And if you don't take care of that by doing guided breathing, because guided breathing is the highest scientifically supported evidence of curtailing or reducing the cortisol. It's not a gadget, it's not sitting at the beach, it's the guided breathing. But together with meditation, together with mindfulness about your passion and relating it to Jesus, that's the most effective way. At the end of the day, you'd have to also reset your cortisol level by examining your conscience. First would be, did I eat too much sugar? That was bad for your temple of the Holy Spirit. Second, did I hurt myself? Did I hurt somebody else? And then you make a reparation and ask, forgive me, and thank myself, or don't even go beyond the walls of your house. Ask forgiveness on who the people around you and make amends before, for goodness sake, maybe that would be the last breath that you have that night. And that's a reality. So examining of conscience and doing weekly confession is very much recommended by the great saints, like Santo Jose Maria Escrivá. He would always say, or even Jesus in Sino Yusu would say, go to confession every week just to cleanse your system. Because guilt is equivalent to sympathetic tone. Sympathetic tone increases inflammation. Inflammation increases blood pressure. So perhaps you can say, did Jesus really was peaceful when he sleep at night? Most likely he was. He meditated through the night and asked maybe forgiveness. Did he have to forgive? No. He probably said thank you to his Father and asked more strength because before he goes to bed. Jesus was always contemplating on something, on the salvation of mankind. He was working in his shop with Saint Joseph. He was always around with his family. Even at 30 years old, he was good. And he was always around with his friends, with his 12 apostles. And maybe before he called the 12 apostles, there were always friends and relatives around him. He always taught us true friendship. True friendship, and he said, I'm ready to die for my friend. To be able to give without nothing to expect. Because if you expect something, or if you do something and you're expecting in return, you'll be frustrated. Because in life, the reality is, don't expect anything. Jesus exemplified that. That's what you call unconditional love. Unconditional love to a friend. Ourselves. So, these are things that Christ maybe would have lived. It was centered on prayer and meditation, living an ordinary life, but centered on meditation. The goal that he taught us was to be contemplative in the midst of our ordinary life. And Saint Jose Maria Escrivá would say, it's good to be doing things, a bold vision, to be a saint in the midst of the world. So we don't have to escape and go to the monastery. There was a beautiful Benedictine abbey in Spain that I said, I wish I could just stay here. But no, that's not my life. The obsession, what about obsession with health versus being healthy? Yeah, you can get yourself tested with the new genetics technology or other things that can be very expensive. Um, but does that really aid in terms of making yourself live a healthy life? Because in the end, if you have these tests around you, what are you going to do with a test? In the end, those tests would still be to say, eat well, exercise, avoid sugar, eat some fiber, because the fiber would definitely be needed by the microbiome. You exercise, hopefully you can transcendentally elevate it and say, this is for somebody. So this is for my sins. This is for the sake of my friends and family. And then, most important thing, I cannot underestimate the power of guided breathing and meditation, especially meditation on this unconditional love through His passion and um, the love that was always in His mind even before He was born. So the Catholic teachings, the pillars of health, is preparing for the day. At the end, you say the examination of conscience on what you ate, maybe, on what you've done to yourself, and prepare for more blessings for the following day. Then you can sleep, because sleep is very important. And I would recall 3 summers ago, there was this college kid who was driven by the parents. The parents had to drive from Indiana to Virginia to pick their kid in Virginia because he was getting um, displaying odd behavior. In essence, he became psychotic because he did not sleep for a week, preparing for the annual play, and it continued on for another week of fasting, physical stress. The boy who I knew was very good was behaving oddly, and definitely he was psychotic. And I told my friend, their parents, I have no guarantee, but I think I know what's operating. I knew for the fact from experience that sleep deprivation can do these things. It starts with disorientation, then confusion, and then full-blown psychosis. In fact, in my medical school, there's always one or two per year in the first year of their medical school that gets into psychotic breakdown. That's because of the most likely sleep deprivation, because you just get paranoid on the stress. So sleep is very important. Do not underestimate stress, because it gives you that impact of mental um, incongruence or mental illness. It promotes cortisol level that increases inflammation through cortisol level increase. And these together would definitely impair your health. It decreases your immune function. It impairs your metabolics, your metabolism. It predisposes you to have metabolic syndrome, which is a combination of high blood pressure because of cortisol going up, sugar goes up. The sugar then increases your adrenal to produce norepinephrine and epinephrine to produce high blood pressure. And this cortisol level will also increase the amount of fat that is produced around the visceral area, the waistline. So the best marker of inflammation in your body is not the weight, it is the waistline. It is actually the visceral fat that has active deposits of fat. So when you embark on some health, um, on wellness, it's not, don't chase your waist, your weight. What I display to my patients is wrap around the tape measure in the waistline, and then that would be the marker of inflammation indirectly. The immune function gets better if you fast, if you sleep better, if you exercise, especially if you transcend it to the complication of transcend it to something higher, offering your little sacrifice of walking, especially if you do a rosary walk here in Ave Maria, that would probably contribute to the what do you call this, the memory bank for the prayers, so that we have world peace. The neurophysiology now dictates that the mental health is not just from psychology or needing to be psychoanalyzed. It's really inside the cell, how the cell is operating, how the cell is fed with micronutrients, which is related to the absorption of micronutrients when you are in a parasympathetic tone, when you're rest and digesting, that your autonomic nervous system is resting, and that the jejunum, the transit time of the colon is high, is improved, so that the micronutrients, the trace minerals, and the vitamins are absorbed better. We have to do away with anxiety. Anxiety in our faith would be to entrust everything to God. Of course, you solve first what is causing us to be anxious. That is the teaching of St. Francis de Sales, who took care of St. Francis de Chantal, who was also anxious. And he basically said, take care first, number one, to take care of your anxiety. What's the root cause? If you're a student, then you would say, well, study so that you will pass and you don't have to worry about the exam. Or if you're a mother or you have a relationship, then mend the relationship, those practical things. And then you examine your conscience through the day and through the week. Hopefully we can go to confession regularly. The mental health especially is something that we cannot ignore. The most studied stressful state is, number one, to be a student preparing for exam. If you're a PhD student, then you're really bombarded with the responsibilities. Second are the caregivers. If you're a caregiver and you need relief, find some relief. Do not be afraid of getting yourself in a situation where you need to rest. That's what you call respite. We need respite, because it is important to take care of yourself. Because if you're not able to take care of yourself, you cannot really take care of the people you love. So there it is. The Christian tradition, the Catholic faith, is imbued with many things that we can rely on to be healthy, to take care of the temple of the Holy Spirit. In conclusion, Catholic teachings is equivalent to having a healthy mind, body, and soul. To fast, to take care of ourselves, not to poison ourselves with processed food, not to imbue ourselves with sugar. Take as much that you can fill up, and not to overeat. Exercise just moderately, because if you overstress your body with exercise, according to whatever you can take, will also trigger cortisol. That's the reason why marathon runners who are so stressed, they get this cortisol pouch in their belly. Trace minerals and vitamins, very important. That is related to how we digest and the choice of food that we have. Most important thing, we cannot ignore the breath prayer, the guided breathing and meditation of His unconditional love. There's no other meditation really that we need to think about. I was just in Avila last week, and Saint Teresa of Avila was very devoted to Saint Joseph, and she says everything I ask from Saint Joseph, he always answers. Sometimes it takes 6 years. That's what he said. There's actually a tradition that that's actually in one of the in the museum. There's a statue of Saint Joseph that he calls Saint Joseph the Talker, Parlero. It's a privilege if you get to go there, because what the story of this is that her devotion to Saint Joseph was that she entrusted everything to Saint Joseph. So when she goes out from Avila to go to Salamanca, 3 hours, or go to Cordoba to establish new convents, she would actually come back and she would always greet Saint Joseph, the statue of Saint Joseph. And then Saint Joseph starts talking to her. What do they talk about? St. Joseph would actually talk about everything that happened in the convent when she was away. That's how close they were. They were really good friends. So the point is that you cannot disconnect faith from health. You can fast just out of vanity to remove calories. You can exercise just because you want to tone your muscles, but that would not be enough. You can take a lot of supplements there, but it's meaningless. It's vanity. But the core of wellness is to know Jesus, to meditate on his unconditional love, because it connects the dots of health. So, in conclusion, we're not so bad, really, if you follow the tradition of Catholic faith. If you live a good Catholic life, if a good Christian faith, you will be healthy. Forget about even if you're healthy or doing all these things and you still get malady. Well, there's a good meaning for that. We have to entrust. So if you have any questions, please drop a comment. And I hope Sandy OK heard the audio, because I something that was missing here in the connection. And thank you, Mabi, in Texas, for watching. If you have any questions, we are going to entertain that, and we'll allow sharing that with the public. You got any questions?
How much sleep should an adult get?
The recommendation is 7 hours. And the key is that when you wake up, you should feel refreshed. That means you have the energy to actually move on. It varies with many different people. I have a friend who I traveled with, and he needed 13 hours to sleep because I said I don't have that luxury, but I just allowed him because he needed to drive safely.
Is there something to getting your best sleep, like a few hours before midnight?
Yeah. So, for example, the greatest professor that I have made friends with, he's 95 years old. He's a priest. It took me a while to reset his sleeping time, because before he would sleep late until 12 midnight because he has to do a lot of readings, grading, but then he would always have to wake up at 6 or 7 o'clock. So he's sleep deprived chronically. So I moved his sleeping time earlier, like 10. At first, I had to give him some sleeping medication, which is not addicting, and also made him do the breathing. Actually, he shared to me. I shared to him the technique of guided breathing, which is not that difficult. Then he shared to me how he prays. Basically, he said, "Don't be quiet. Just say, 'Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening.'" And Father McManus would be very compliant. When he does not sleep, I gave him IV vitamins the following day to remove the inflammation or neutralize the inflammation. If you have the luxury of doing that, IV vitamin C, B complex, glutathione, that would really work. And then the following day, his blood pressure normalizes. So it becomes a cycle. Now I call him, "You're the envy of Ave Maria because your blood pressure is normal. You're living a peaceful life. All systems are working." So it can be done, really.
What about naps?
Naps, if you need a nap, I would highly encourage taking a nap maybe from 12 to 2 p.m. There's a natural phenomenon of having a 2 to 3 crash. That's why people get coffee, get something to keep going. That's because of the cortisol level. Imagine having all the stimulus, your brain is fatigued from when you wake up, 8, working, 12, then you're drained. Nap is good. I always took naps, even 15, 30 minutes.
That's what I do, 15.
Yeah.
My friends used to say, "How can you take a 15-minute nap?"
Yes.
And then I feel great.
Yes, it is. It's very important. See, Ruby.
What would you recommend for women who are going through hormonal
Shift, yeah.
and perimenopause or menopause?
Mhm.
Because they hear a lot that after menopause, their sleep quality is diminished or declines. Is there any recommendations to help women in general going through those shifts? And
Yeah, the question here is the menopausal hormonal change with women. Well, you have to replace it bioidentically, not the synthetic part. For example, progesterone really helps calm the brain of woman and improves anxiety and also improves sleep by mouth. But do not take the synthetic hormone that's coming from the equine because those are inflammatory. So I hope that answers the question. Also, the balance of estrogen, the good estrogen, and the progesterone. For men, it is also important to replace testosterone because it's a given. After 30 years old, the testosterone level goes down, and it can precipitously go down if you're stressed. And you need to replace it with many different things, forms like injection or for what do you call this? Topical testosterone. That helps that helps the testosterone deprivation. And they report vigor actually.
Doesn't the yogurt that you had here help with testosterone?
Yes, the yogurt indirectly helps the metabolism and also the absorption and all those things that you have in the hormonal balance. So that's the reason why you have to take care of the gut, the microbiome. The microbiome needs the fiber, and that connects with the diet that we were promoting, that is low in sugar because sugar kills the microbiome. And the fiber is needed for fermentation so that the short chain fatty acids, the butyrate, propionate, and acetate is produced by the bacteria when you're out of fermentation from this fiber from the vegetables and other fibers. So it is a must that we use that. Question: Elon Musk hardly sleeps. He must be on non-religious. So maybe you should elaborate that, Dubs. Irie. What else? Do you have any other question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a question, but we have a comment.
Okay.
There are like different kind of powder that they are fiber, like psyllium husk,
Yes.
like flaxseed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recommend those?
Those are good fibers, regardless. You know, the chia seeds, as long as you know the source of the fiber. But I would recommend the basis would be the 2 cups of vegetables we talk about because it has its micronutrients, the phytonutrients, and also fiber. So take as much different sources of fiber that you have, but fiber is very important. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to add what you were talking about with my sister.
Mm-hmm.
She had been to the emergency room twice, thought she had a heart attack. Everything was fine, and then they finally said, see a neurologist in 2 months. And I said to my brother-in-law, in less than 2 months, she won't be able to get out of bed. She couldn't walk from here to there when she came in here. So you had told us about that student you had here,
Yeah.
and same thing it sounded like.
Mm-hmm.
So I insisted that they come here, and I mean, they used to walk 4 to 5 miles a day
Yeah.
before this happened. And now she's back to walking again, taking care of her grandchild. And she's more energy than I do.
That's right. Yeah, that was the summer of the first summer that we had here in Ave Maria. And but thank you for at least allowing us to try the care that we have.
Thank you. We appreciate it. She still sees you.
Yes, she drives 2 hours, no? Babka Branch is like 2 hours, an hour and a half. So so health cannot just be approached with diagnosis, okay, blood work, because a lot of times, many times, even if you're fatigued, or the most common cause of symptoms, you will have normal blood work unless your kidney is damaged, your liver is damaged, and still you'll not feel good because it's the stress, the chronic stress that affects the autonomic nervous system, that affects the gut. Those are important concepts that needs to be addressed by the physician. Do you have any other question?
This is not a question.
Yes,
just
a comment.
It's to give a plug to somebody. For the first time today, I'm going to be ordering some vegetables.
Yes.
And it's every Tuesday. You have to have the order in by 8 o'clock.
Where is it?
She lives in Del Webb up by the Celebration area.
Oh, yeah.
I
Okay.
have the address with me. I just
Uh-huh.
can't remember the street.
So it's organic, I suppose.
It's organic,
Mhm.
and it was recommended by Patty Keith. to me
Okay.
before
Oh, yeah.
Patty.
Okay. Sure.
And she's gotten it. And I said, well, it's something I didn't do before because I live alone and I can't eat all those veggies. But you can order as little as like $24.
Okay.
And she'll give the list. I was going to do it last week, but then
Yeah.
I had too many veggies at home.
Yeah.
So you have to have the order in by 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then the delivery comes Thursday.
Yeah.
So I thought it was 10:30.
Yeah.
But, I had told her I couldn't
Right.
make it because I'm going to this funeral mass
Yeah.
Thursday. So she's very flexible. And actually, the time isn't 10:30. It might change a little bit every Thursday, but she's very thorough with the emails.
Nice.
And,
So the point is that
my order, I have to
Yeah.
go home and look and see what I want to get, and then I'll put the order in. And it doesn't take me any time to get up there. And if you can't pick it up that day, she has like a facility. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
A big refrigerator or something where she can keep it for you.
Well, the point is that
And
people are.
Patty said the food, it's very clean.
Yeah.
It's not like all dirt on it or something. Because,
Nice.
There were other farms that were delivering here at times. But
So you might as well move to Ave Maria because we have all these resources of organic vegetables and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So it's an easy living. Try visiting us here in Ave Maria. So thank you for joining, Senki. Okay, Dubs are Mabi. Thank you. Briards. Bye bye for now. And next.